Thanks for staying with us. The University of Cape Town's Vice-Chancellor, Professor Mamokgethi Phakeng, has been named a top 10 finalist for the new Africa Education Medal. The award recognizes the tireless work of those who are transforming education across the continent, those who have lit the spark of change so others will be inspired to take up that torch. Now, those who know her story will know that in 2002, Phakeng broke ground when she became the first black female South African to achieve a PhD in mathematics education. And of course, there's hope that that would encourage many more to do the same. Let's chat to her some more now. She joins us virtually from Cape Town. Vice-Chancellor, thank you so much for your time this evening. Congratulations on this nomination, added to the long list of other awards or nominations you've received in during your storied career. I'm quite interested, however, when something like this comes along and you see along some of the names that you've been named along with, do you see this as a pat on the back for Mamokgethi, Vice-Chancellor, or is this a affirmation for Mamokgethi, who dedicated her life all those years ago to trying to improve education, specifically with a focus on mathematics?
I mean, I see it as an affirmation of the action, not the person. So the fact that Mamokgethi is neither here nor there, I see it as affirmation of the work that I've been doing. I do it not for the awards, not for the accolades. I've been doing it for years. And I think this is one way, perhaps, of saying to young people, other professionals, there's something that you can do if you want to change the world.
You have been through a very difficult time, along with all of your colleagues across the sector in education, specifically in tertiary education, over the last few years as we've grappled with this pandemic, and the education system specifically was really showed flames, if I could use a younger people's phrase, in how it had to very quickly pivot to try and keep the wheels of education going while helping so many South African students who perhaps were not in the means, didn't have the resources to pivot along with the world that had to, because of this health disaster that we were facing. Have you had the time just to sit back and think about what your biggest learnings have been about this last 3 years that you've experienced in your position at the helm of the University of Cape Town?
I think for us at the University of Cape Town, the rough time that was brought upon us by the pandemic, by the way, for us, it was also the fire. As traumatic as it was, there was a silver lining. And I look back, there are things that we wouldn't have done in the way that we've done them if it were not for that. The idea that we could take the whole academic program online was unthinkable, was something that we would never have done. There would have been debates. I mean, 2019, 2018, 2017, there were debates about online use of online resources. And here we were, 2020, we had to go online, and our academics became very creative in that space. And so we needed this. And it also came, the pandemic came at a time when we were crafting our Vision 2030. You know, Marcel, when you are a top performing university, when you come up in the rankings as one of the top universities on the African continent, one of the top universities in the world, it is not easy to change or to do new things, because the idea is that what you're doing works. Everyone wants to do what you're doing. Everyone wants to beat you. Everyone wants to copy you. And so the tendency is to want to continue the same way. And so the end of 2019, as we're starting the conversations about the vision, I said to colleagues, we have to disrupt ourselves. If we do not disrupt ourselves, we will be disrupted. And there was a debate about this language that I'm using. And some people felt it is too much, it's traumatizing, it's not positive, you know. And then February, March, the pandemic was with us. I no longer had to look for what people think is a kinder or a softer way to say, let's disrupt ourselves, because disruption was here on our doorstep. And so we had to get on with it. So it was as traumatic as it was, as much as we lost people, it was a huge opportunity to think outside the box, to think of things that we would never have thought about and do them. I mean, we would never have launched the UCT online high school if it were not for the pandemic. And there we were. We've got an online high school, started incredibly well, and we've got a vision that's to the point, that's clear about who you want to be and why, and it's got a massive transformative purpose that I don't think people would have agreed to it if it were not for the pandemic.
Some might say that a disruption or disruptor is a phrase that's almost been a golden thread through your time as Vice-Chancellor. You can hear I'm smiling because I'm saying it with a bit of tongue in cheek, that some would say that you hit the ground running when you were first appointed all those years ago, and every few weeks or every few months or so you're in the news because there's a bit of disruption that you're leading the way with. Just a few weeks ago, I think I read you threw yourselves into a debate about cancel culture. My question, however, to you is, what gets you out of bed in the morning? Do you not sometimes say, oh, what am I going to deal with today? What's going to be thrown at me today? What am I going to be criticized for doing today? Is it going to be my lipstick culture or my Twitter feed, or what is it going to be today?
You know, Marcel, my whole life has been disruptive. Coming into this world was disruptive. I was born in a sack. I'm a cow baby. I was born in a placenta. One of the few babies in the world born that way. It's no ordinary birth. So being a disruptive presence is what I am. And I'm almost done with my first memoir, that I have entitled A Disruptive Presence. It's got nothing to do with UCT. It's just who I am. I don't make an effort. I just go on living my life and doing the best that I think I should do. And to be honest with you, at primary school, I was a disruptive presence. High school, everywhere, university, everywhere. I was always visible, small as I am. And so it's not like I wake up every morning and say, what am I going to do to the world today? Or what's the world going to do to me? I actually pay attention to detractors and haters, because in fact, in this world, each one of us has got a group. I always say to young people, we've got an auditorium of haters and an auditorium of likers. Advocates, people who are rooting for you. The big problem is that the haters are loud. The reason why they're loud is because they've got no argument. The people who support you know what they're supporting. They're rooting for you. They're clapping. They're praying. They're doing all sorts of things to help you succeed. You've got to focus on that auditorium. The auditorium of haters will be there. And in fact, it is there because you're doing something. If you're doing nothing, nobody says anything about you. So here's the thing. If you're a vice-chancellor and nobody bothers about anything you do, or nobody ever complains, frankly speaking, you're doing nothing. Because if you're really shifting the needle, there will be someone who complains, because that's what leadership is about. People who don't do anything don't get criticized. But if you do something, you will shift some people, you will shake some grounds, and people will mourn. But I'm not puzzled. I'm a disruptive presence, and I think it's needed in this world. It's positive. I don't think it's negative.
If I could ask you just to put your mathematics educator hat on, just as one final question, it's a little bit more newsy. In the news just a couple of weeks ago, we heard that in the Western Cape, certain schools are phasing out maths and science because there's been a massive decrease in the numbers of children at high school level taking it up as a subject of choice to follow through, and I suppose eventually into tertiary. How worried and concerned do we have to be about that trend? And what are we doing wrong as mathematics educators? Because apparently part of the problem is that schools also can't find qualified or enough qualified maths and physics teachers.
Well, we should be very worried about it, extremely worried about it. And I think, I don't think it's only a problem of not being able to find good mathematics teachers. I think there's an image of mathematics that we have created, that it is okay not to be good at mathematics. I mean, the amount of people, high caliber people, who are comfortable to say, I was never good at mathematics, or who argue that people like me are special because they could pass mathematics. I think we've got to slow down on that, because every time we say that, we're saying to young people who don't even know whether they're good or bad at mathematics, or gifted or not, they just think, oh, it's okay if I fail this. After all, CEO of this company could never do it. So I think it's got to start at society. And then I think we've got to make our schools aware of the importance of mathematics. I think the introduction of mathematical literacy sort of also gave as many schools and learners and parents perhaps an idea that it's okay to get through life without mathematics. I mean, the interesting thing is that at university, I mean, I can tell you that in the last 3 years here at UCT, our mathematics 1 class has been the fullest, has been oversubscribed, which is interesting. But it's because our students are interested in the skills of the future, the 4th industrial revolution, what we're doing here. So it is not unusual at all here at UCT now to get students from humanities, from commerce, from, students who are not majoring in mathematics, who do pure mathematics, just even if it's Maths 1, but our Maths 1 class is oversubscribed. I'm sure some people might remember in 2019, perhaps 2020, the beginning of the year, uproar on Twitter, Mathematics 1 students tagging me at UCT saying, we are sitting on the floor, there's too many of us, they must divide the class into 2. And I thought, nice problem. We've got an overcrowded maths class. Now, if we have the younger ones not taking mathematics, then there's a lack of understanding there. And to be honest with you, I know for sure that it will be schools mainly in working class areas that will be figuring out maths. And that again, we're widening the gap between these 2 South Africas, and it's not going to help us. People are just focusing on passing matric and not looking at what that matric is going to allow them to do. I think it's about time that we see parents standing up. I look forward to a shutdown of parents saying, we demand the teaching of mathematics in the schools in our township. I look forward to that kind of not toys that don't focus on things like this that will set us up for good for the future.
Okay, thank you so much for that. Thank you for that insight specifically on that issue, which is a very real issue that the Education Department is grappling with right now. The University of Cape Town's Vice-Chancellor, Professor Mamokgethi Phakeng, it's always a pleasure chatting to you. She has been nominated as a top 10 finalist for the inaugural Africa Education Medal.